I guess they were ambushed, and then they reorganized the unit.
Oh,
And when
okay.
they did that, I ended up going to a colonel's bodyguard team.
Wow.
And yes,
So
that
you
was
worked as a bodyguard at that point.
I did,
Yeah.
and we went all over Iraq.
Good morning, everybody. This is Cherokee Auto Sales, and we're interviewing Matt. Matt's the owner of Minuteman Locksmith here in Knox County. Good morning, Matt.
Morning, how are you?
Good. Matt has come over here this morning and cut 3 different keys for our cars this morning. We've been using Matt for a little while now, probably like a month, 2 months, maybe
Yeah.
a little longer. And he shows up, he does the work. He's the first locksmith. We've been doing this 12 years. The first locksmith that I've had who we don't have to go behind and ask him to come back and fix it again. So that is a big, huge help to us.
Right.
For him to actually check the key and make sure the key works and make sure the door works, make sure the ignition works. And if there's any problems, he brings them to our attention and says, hey, you're having this problem. I can help you with it. But it's been a super big help to have that. We have as many keys cut as 15 keys cut in one day before. So this is a real help for us to have you a member of our team here. So
Right.
So Matt's business number is 865-465-6257, and you can text that number or you can call that number. His business hours are Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and then you work on Saturdays by emergency
That's
only.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then nothing on Sundays. If you need somebody on Sundays, call somebody else.
Better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sunday's an important day off to spend time with our family and stuff. Matt, what's your last name?
Osgood.
Matt Osgood, Osgood. So I'm noticing here on the side of your van, it says that you're veteran owned and operated. So can you tell us about your experience with the U.S. military?
Yes. So before I got married in 2004, I signed up with the Tennessee National Guard.
Yeah.
The armory that's downtown on Sutherland.
Right.
And I actually signed up for the unit that's in Pigeon Forge, 2nd Howe Battery. And I served. Okay, so this is kind of a weird story. Before I got married, it was like 2 weeks before or after I got married, I got my papers to deploy to Iraq.
Oh, wow.
So I served in Iraq for
Yeah.
right at a year, and then we returned home, and that's kind of like I did some guard duty for a little while, and that was
Right.
pretty much it.
Okay. So what did you do in Iraq? What was your job?
So my beginning job in Iraq, I was a desk writer, and we basically you sit on a desk and monitor, incoming calls for what we call the TOC, it's Tactical Operations Command. So
Right.
I worked for it was First Squadron at the time.
Right.
So I worked for the commander and the first sergeant, and if something came in overnight, I was to go wake them up. So I did that for about 3 or 4 months.
Wow.
And then after that, I guess my boredom got the better of me, and I got in trouble, and then they moved me out on the road. So I
Okay.
got moved to a route clearing detail.
Right.
And
You guys were making roads?
no, what we do, as far as route clearing detail, is we went out in a 3-vehicle team, and we would search the road for IEDs.
Oh, okay.
So
oh, wow.
yeah, so like the MSRs over
You're
there.
looking for bombs on the
yes,
road?
yeah.
Wow.
We cleared the roads, but because we have a lot of traffic that comes in and out from other fobs or whatever,
Right.
transportation, whatever,
Right.
and you want them to be safe. So whatever, we essentially went out and looked for them, and you
Okay.
you drive the road enough, you knew what you were looking for.
Right.
So we did that for probably about 4 months, and then there was an incident that happened where one of the teams had, I guess they were ambushed, and then they reorganized the unit.
Oh,
And when
okay.
they did that, I ended up going to a colonel's bodyguard team.
Wow.
And yes, that
So
was
you worked as a bodyguard at that point?
I did.
Yeah.
And we went all over Iraq. We were northern Iraq. I mean, we went everywhere, it seemed like. So
Yeah.
we went to Balad, we went to Bernstein. We were all over the place.
Yeah.
So I did that till the rest of the time I was there, and then
Yeah.
that's when I went home.
So when you sign up for the Air National Guard?
No, it's just the National Guard.
National Guard.
Right.
You have to go through basic training?
You do. You go through
Okay.
basic
Yeah.
training
So
with
8 weeks of basic training?
with regular Army. You're
Yeah.
in with them.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, gotcha.
There was something different about the way they you got. The only time they knew we were different is when you went to eat, because it was like they were pulling the money from some other source. I don't know how that worked, but
for the food.
Air
I
National
gotcha.
Guard went first, or
I gotcha.
National Guard went first.
I gotcha. National
So,
Guard.
yeah.
Well, thank you for your service.
Yeah, I appreciate
Wow,
it.
bombs and yeah, taking care of was a full bird colonel? Is that
No, he was Lieutenant Colonel.
a lieutenant
Yeah.
colonel? Okay. I know very little about the military. Before I was born, my dad was a medic in the Army.
Mhm.
He was stationed in Germany, and I think he did 4 years. I'll have to double check with my mom. My mom is a is a very big. She's a big fan of the military. Her dad was in the military. I've got several. She had siblings that were in the military,
Yeah,
and so
that's kind of how
um,
it was for me.
yeah,
My grandfather was in the military. My dad was in the military, and
mhm.
kind of
Yeah,
on and on it goes.
right, very good. So your website is, I'm noticing it's www.minutemanlocksmith.org, and then so tell me about yourself and your strengths besides what
Um,
you've just told us.
okay. Strengths, I would consider. I, I'm more of a logical person.
Okay,
I like to sort puzzles out. So when I'm challenged on a daily basis, I think that's part of my strength.
right,
If it's not a challenge, I don't really find interest in it.
right,
So this job, in a way, has been good because it does produce a challenge, and
yeah,
it's not always a challenge, but
yeah,
there are certain times when you run into something where five locksmiths have been there, and
yeah,
you've got to
right,
figure it out
right, yeah,
because you don't want to be number six.
right, right,
So, in my strength, I think that's a strength for me in my job
yeah.
because I'm able to try to piece the puzzle together slowly. But whatever.
It's cool to hear you enunciate that because last week we had a Malibu that would not start. It would turn over, but it wouldn't start. And we asked you to come check the anti-theft. You ended up diagnosing a cam position sensor,
Yep.
and you helped us fix the vehicle.
Right.
So yeah, so that extra set of eyes and that problem solving
Yeah,
ability was
because
helpful.
it, in my career, I see a lot of people they miss things and they're kind of simple,
Right.
you know,
Yep.
and
Yep.
it's something that you if you take your time and you just do a little bit of research,
Yeah.
sometimes you can find it right away.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah. That's good. I agree with you strongly. That's a strength for you. Um, do you have a pet? Do you want to talk about your pet?
I have three pets. Technically, I don't have any pets. My wife has three pets. They are hers, but I just get to be there and pet them every once. No, I'm kidding.
Oh.
I have three French bulldogs.
Oh, okay.
Our first one we got when we lived in Murfreesboro. So I lived there for a little while, and it's a female, and her
Mm-hmm.
name is Lola.
Mm-hmm.
She kind of reminds me of my wife. She's the most feisty. And then the second one we got, he's a little bit bigger, heavier Frenchie. He's still a Frenchie, but he's kind of a laid back,
Yeah.
easygoing, dog. He likes to lay around a lot.
Yeah.
He's kind of heavier set like me, but
Right,
anyway. And then we have a third one, and his name is Boone. I'm sorry, not Boone. Boone is the second one's name. The third one is Rambo.
Okay.
He was supposed to be, my dog, but
Yeah.
like I said, wife rules. But
Yeah. Yeah.
he's got that eating condition where his esophagus is real small. So when he eats, it comes back
Oh,
up.
I
So
gotcha.
he's a special dog,
Oh.
but he's full of energy, and he's kind of. They all three have different personalities.
Right.
Like, kind of after you're with them for a while,
Mm-hmm.
you can see their personalities like
Right.
children.
So Lola, Boone, and Rambo.
Right.
Are any of them married? And have you ever had puppies or anything?
No.
Okay.
Uh,
Gotcha.
Two of them are fixed. Lola and Boone are both fixed,
Right.
and Rambo's not.
Yeah.
And the only reason we haven't had him fixed is because the vet said that we needed to wait
Oh.
because he's still kind of young.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I gotcha. That's cool. Ours had we've got Yorkies, and
Mhm.
they've been in a previous episode, and they had puppies twice, and then we had them fixed. So they are married. They are husband and wife.
I don't think Lola's ever going to be married.
So do you want to talk about your personal life? Maybe how you met your wife, the day. So something that I'm interested in hearing is like the day that you met her, or the day she met you, or how quickly y'all dated, or how did that start out?
So I'm from originally St. Augustine, Florida, and I moved up here when I was 17. So
Right.
I met some friends that I knew from Florida, and I lived with them at the Easttown Mall. And I was still young. I guess you could say I was around 17, and I was dating people at the time, but not like anything serious. And my wife, she happened to be with another friend, and this is back when the Easttown Mall was the Easttown Mall.
Yeah.
So we met at Applebee's
Before it was
Yes.
Amazon.
before it was Amazon Fulfillment Center. We
Right.
met at Applebee's, and
Oh, yeah.
she was with somebody else, and I had just asked my friend, because I'll be honest with you, I was bashful. I was like,
Right.
"Who is that?" You
Yeah.
know? And I got her number through him, and he got it through another person. But anyway, I ended up calling her, and that's how that got started with her.
Right.
And this was, I guess, this is right before I joined up for the military. So,
Right.
but I didn't know, but until later down the road, that she and my mother had been talking on, I think it was a chat room or whatever.
Sometimes,
And I never knew that, but
Yeah.
she knew my mother through a chat
okay.
room.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, you know my mom? And yeah, my mom and your mom been talking for a while. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But that's how we met.
Yeah.
And
So what was your first? Where'd you go on your first date? Was it to Applebee's or?
no, it's East Town Mall.
Oh, okay. So
We
you walked
went-
around the mall.
We went to the movies.
Right.
I can remember the first movie we watched.
What was the movie?
Abandoned.
Yeah.
It was. It had. I can't remember the name.
The movie's called Abandoned.
Yep. It had Tom Cruise's wife. What's her name? Katie.
Oh, Katie Holmes.
Katie Holmes. It had her and another. I can't remember the other names, but anyway, it was something she wanted to watch.
It's a horror movie.
It was something. I'm not into horror movies, but it's something she wanted to watch.
Nice.
But
Well, that's an interesting story.
that was the first date.
So do you have a favorite restaurant here in Knoxville?
I do, and I don't like to talk about it because I'm afraid if I do, then other people will kind of flock to it, and then I can't. No, I'm kidding. It's Thai Time on Chapman Highway. I like Thai food.
Yeah.
So we lived in the Nashville area. There's a ton of Thai places there, but in Knoxville, it's
Yeah.
really hard to
Place
find.
the Thai closed.
They did, and
Yeah.
I remember that. And I was kind of sad about
Yeah.
that because Thai
So-
Time hadn't
So
been
Thai
around.
Time on Chapman Highway.
Yes.
Paige Pollock. It's my daughter. We just ate Thai
it's-
Sunday night or Sunday at 4. We went to Stir Fry Cafe there on Kingston Pike behind the Chili's.
Yep.
And never been there before, 17 years, but we're going to go to Thai Time.
It's kind of.
Do you have a favorite dish you like there?
Yes, I like the basil fried rice.
Paige Pollock. So that used to be her favorite, and she named her dog Basil.
Hey, I love it. I like it a little bit spicy
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
but
Which protein?
chicken.
Okay. Yeah. We like chicken. Yeah.
But
That's funny.
they just got. It wasn't that long ago. They had to shut down because somebody was running from the police and ran through the front of their building.
That's crazy.
Shut 'em down, but-
yeah.
They kind of look like it's the old K's ice cream. You know where the ice cream cone is on Chapman Highway?
Yeah.
That building.
Oh, okay.
But-
Down on the left,
yeah.
going towards Severe Bowl.
You walk in and it kind
Yeah.
of looks like a sketchy
Yeah.
little, but they're great.
Delicious
Yes,
food, though.
yes.
Well, we're going to go check it out soon. Would you consider yourself to be a morning or a night person? Do you have to have an alarm clock to wake up? What does your exact morning routine consist of every day? And then, are you a coffee drinker?
Okay, so I would consider myself an evening because
Yeah.
not really morning, but not really evening.
Right.
So, and I would say that I do not use an alarm clock unless I have an early
Right.
appointment.
What time do you start waking up in the mornings?
Right after my wife leaves, so
Okay.
it's right around 7:30, 8
Yeah,
o'clock.
That's pretty late.
No, it's not.
I start waking up about 3 or 4 in the morning.
Well, I'm not that old yet.
Yeah.
But far
You're
as
right. If you were 17 in 2017, I just turned 50 last year, so you're right. We are a
Right.
different age. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
far as morning routines, I guess you could say I wake up every morning, I read and pray, do my devotions, and then I do drink coffee. And I didn't usually drink coffee. I'm 42 now, and I didn't drink coffee until around 40, 41.
Okay.
Okay, so I was in Ohio with my sister and her husband, and we were doing Thanksgiving turkey, deep fried turkey, and she brought me a coffee from Dutch Brothers.
Oh, Dutch
It
Bros.
was
Yeah,
cinnamon.
yeah.
It was a cinnamon roll brevet,
Right.
and from then on,
Oh.
it was over. I was
Yeah,
done.
yeah,
Like
Do you like Dutch Bros coffee?
I do.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm a little addicted, but I have an espresso machine,
Oh.
so it's the closest you're going to get
So
to
you-
espresso.
So you make it at home.
I do.
What's the
About
name brand of your espresso machine?
Nespresso,
Okay, Nespresso. I
Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah.
but it does like I've got the Vertuo because it does double shot espresso
Oh,
shots.
nice.
Make my own
That'll
sugar.
wake you up. Yeah.
Yeah, because I do about
Yeah.
6 shots.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. You do about 6 shots and a little
But
bit.
just
of
once a
cream.
day, though.
Well, yeah, sometimes just maybe about 3 or 4 times a
Yeah.
week, not every day.
Yeah. That's
But, yeah.
funny. Is there anything else in the world besides your business that you're trying to accomplish?
Generally, because I'm a logical person, I like to learn. So
Yeah.
accomplishment is I'd love to learn new things,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's I don't know, putting an epoxy floor down or learning networking for computers or learning how different things work. That's just something I
Yeah.
like to do because it keeps me going.
Right.
As far as that, I guess that's about the only thing.
Yeah.
I don't really see
So-
myself in trying to like climb any mountains anytime
You're not
soon.
trying to
But
become a brain
just
surgeon?
I love to learn new things.
Yeah. So tell me something that you've learned lately that it's worth repeating.
Okay, so I went to an not access camera class. I got the sticker on the front of the van.
Right?
I got certified in cameras, and I learned a lot about cameras and how they actually function.
Like the setting up of a camera,
Yeah, like you've got depth of field, field of view, and a lot of
yeah,
these things won't
metrics that most people don't
no,
know
and
about.
they
Yeah.
make a huge difference
Oh
in how the
wow.
camera functions. And then you've got like IR settings where you got
Yeah.
low level
Right.
light and how
Yeah.
the sun
Yeah.
reacts to a camera. There's a
Yeah.
lot of things that,
That's interesting.
and I learned a lot about internet networking through that class.
Oh wow.
So
That's interesting. Where did you grow up and go to school?
I was born and raised in St. Augustine, Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to school. I could say I went to a couple different schools because there was Webster Elementary in St. Augustine, and then there was Catalina's Elementary, and then there was Sebastian Middle School. Because of where I lived,
Mm-hmm.
I got moved around to
Bounced around a
different
little
because they
bit.
would
Yeah.
change, they would remap the district or whatever, and you got
Right.
moved around a little bit. So um, at St. Augustine High School, I believe was like the last attachment.
Mm-hmm.
We were at school at Evelyn Hamlin High. Like I said, I got moved around a lot.
And so St. Augustine, Florida, is famous for what? Is it the oldest city in the
It
U.S.?
is the oldest city in the U.S. It is now. It's the first established city, and that's how they get it because the Spaniards
Mm.
were occupying St. Augustine before
Oh,
way
okay.
up there in the
Yeah.
colonies ever even happened.
Right.
So the Spanish were famous for running rum, and the pirates would try to steal the rum.
Oh,
So that's
okay,
that's
gotcha.
how. And they're kind of famous for what we call and a lot of people don't know about it. It's called a daddle pepper.
Mm-hmm. A what?
A daddle pepper.
A daddle
It's-
pepper.
It's from Menorca, Spain, and it's not really known around a lot of people. People know habanero. It's kind of close.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's a
It's-
type of pepper.
It's very
gotcha.
close to a
Yeah,
habanero, and they're known for the daddle pepper.
Yeah.
Like they have daddle pepper festivals every year.
Nice.
So you
So
go
do you
to-
like do you eat hot stuff?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
So
just
what's the hottest pepper that you've eaten?
probably I'd say the daddle pepper. I don't want to go anything above that.
So you've never had like a ghost pepper,
No,
the
no.
Reaper, nothing like that.
I've had like ghost pepper cheese, and
Okay.
I think we've even had some Reaper cheese that we put on a
yeah,
hamburger. But
yeah.
I don't like it to where it hurts.
So at the Thai Time
Mhm.
restaurant, how spicy do you order your food on
Medium.
a scale of 0 to 5?
0 to 5, it's probably like 3.
Okay.
So not the hottest, but
Yeah.
it's enough to.
That's got some heat though.
Right.
I order 0. So
That's no heat.
yeah, no heat at all. Yeah, and some curries like a massaman curry
Right.
is already a 1.
Right.
So they'll tell you that, but it burns. Yeah, it's not good for my body. How long have you been in Knoxville? Did you say?
Since 1999.
Yeah.
I moved here in 99. We were, I guess you could say we were leaving Florida initially from a hurricane that was happening.
We meaning your
My
parents
family.
and you?
Yeah, I was 17,
Yeah,
so my
yeah.
family moved down here. We initially came to leave from a hurricane, and then from there, my mom decided, "Yep, I want to move." So
Aw.
we all
Yeah.
moved.
Yeah.
So probably since '99. So I don't know. I haven't really calculated the years. but
25 years.
25.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because we're in 2024, so
Yep.
that's definitely pre-COVID. Long time.
definitely pre-COVID.
So I'm interested in knowing how long you've been in business and what was the spark that started your journey as an entrepreneur.
I've been in business since October of 2023.
Okay.
No, 22. Sorry. So I've been in business this
Almost a couple years.
Yeah, this October will be 2 years. And before I worked for myself, I worked for FM George,
Mhm. Which is a locksmith company.
another locksmith
Yeah,
company, and they've been around since probably
They're an old-
1911.
Yeah, they're an old locksmith company.
A lot of people don't know, but they started.
1911.
Yes.
Holy moly.
They started out working on briefcases, like at a
Wow.
hardware store. So that's
Yeah,
kind of how they
yeah,
got their
yeah.
start. There, I learned a lot of commercial locksmithing,
Mhm.
exit devices, door
Yeah.
closers, stuff like that. Before that, I worked for a company called Pop-A-Lock,
Oh yes.
which
yeah.
a lot of people
They
should know.
actually bought some cars from us the other day.
Yeah, they're. I don't know the guy that owns the franchise now, but the lady that used to or still does own a portion of it, I worked for her,
Mhm.
and I managed the Knoxville and the Nashville franchise.
So what kind of car were you driving around with Pop-A-Lock? Because they use the Corolla and the Prius a lot, I've noticed.
I had a van, and
Okay.
I built several vans for them. We
yeah.
did Honda Element was
Mhm.
one build out for them, and then I did a Nissan NV, and then I did a Sprinter, a
Okay,
Mercedes Sprinter,
Right.
and then we also did a ProMaster.
Yeah.
So we did several vehicles for them. Just build
I've
them
seen
out.
some
Like,
little bitty Honda Fits driving around. I say Pop-A-Lock down the side. I'm like, what can you put in that vehicle?
You can actually get quite a bit. I've actually done one of those too. I just forgot. But I've done several vehicles for them.
Yeah.
But before that, I worked for Nissan. Probably close to 7 years. I was a Nissan Master Tech.
Oh, okay.
And my journey from...
You were an A-Tech with Nissan.
Yes.
Yeah.
My journey from technician to where I'm at now was I liked working on cars. The problem is the way the car industry is going, it's really hard to make money in the dealership unless you're dishonest. And that's just my personal opinion.
I got you.
You have to... Fixing cars, people don't realize what it takes to fix a car. They don't know what goes into it. So I got away from it because I didn't want to be part of, I guess, the stigma, because I didn't like how they were viewed.
Adding stuff on, or what? Do you want to share details?
Oh,
of
yeah.
That,
so the Nissan dealership, I ain't gonna say a name, but the Nissan dealership that I worked for, we had a tech come over from Hyundai, and he was making more than I was, and he wasn't even a master tech, but he made more because he would sell services and not do them.
Oh, okay, I understand. That's extremely dishonest.
Yes, it is. A premium service, and usually because of the metrics that the dealership set up, the service manager is not going to say anything about it, because they're making money.
Sure.
And because service managers, most of them make profit margin. It's benefiting them to drive profit, so that it makes their check higher, and it doesn't really drive quality. So that's why I said I exited that line, and I worked locksmithing for several years, and then I decided I can do this. I've done this for other people. I can do this for myself. So that's kind of what started me into this journey.
You got a lot of good experience if you worked as a locksmith for a long time. For the man, if you will. So tell me about the most effective marketing campaign that you've had so far in your business.
Honestly, it's been face-to-face contact. So, handing out business cards and talking to people face-to-face has been probably the most successful, because nobody likes cold call marketing, but it's been profitable for me because I can get in there and people... So
you pull up to a dealership, you just go in, hand them a business card.
And most of that is a connection. And I learned when I moved to East Tennessee that the people here have a different type of living. Like a lot of people in East Tennessee like to make a connection, and they know you, they'll use you. And I've seen people use people that, just done them wrong just because they know them. But I've learned that if you can make a connection with a person, you got their business. So I didn't get every place I stopped to, but I started getting word of mouth, and it starts building, and then
because I know 10 or 15 other car dealers because I talk to them at the auctions every week. I was in a 20 group where we would meet 3 times a year in a boardroom. 20 of us would meet. Now, me introducing you to a dealer in Texas isn't beneficial to you, but here local, I do know. I mean, I've got at least 20 people's cell phone number in my phone. So, we used a locksmith over on Western Avenue. We would have to take the cars there, and then we weren't really even pricing them anymore because it was a good solution. As our business, vamped up, we would just take them there, or we would call them to come over here, and then they would charge us sometimes a fee for coming over on top of the cost of the key and the labor. And then we had a gentleman solicit us, not you, but right before you, he solicited us, and we used it one time. And then I was driving on 640, and I got behind this van, and I just reached out, grabbed my phone, and took a snapshot of the back of his van. And then about a week later, I text you, and then you came over and did some keys for us, and your prices were better than the second and the third, or the first guy. So that was pretty cool that we... That's how we met, was actually from the decals on your van here. So
and to go a little further than that, my prices, and I probably would make a lot of people in the area mad and in competition, but the way I see it is the job itself is fairly easy. And once you do it for a while, it's fairly quick, and you can do it correctly without you can do a lot of this stuff. But that being said, you've got a lot of people out there that don't. So it makes my job easier. So I can, if I can charge you a lower amount and do more of it, I'm still making the same amount of money. Instead of charging you one fee and making that same amount.
We also keep your overhead down by not having a brick and mortar. Got to pay rent and insurance and everything. So, so when you were young, who had an impact on you? Like teenager, preteen, teenager, when you were formidable, who had an impact on you?
I would say my grandfather,
What was his name?
Anders Hansen. He was from Denmark.
Okay.
He immigrated over from Denmark to Canada, and there were some of his siblings that were born there, and then they immigrated all the way to St. Augustine, Florida.
Okay, gotcha. So from
Yeah.
Canada to St. Augustine, Florida.
So I guess you could say he was in the military. He was in World War II, but his attitude is, I always saw him as like a grumpy grouch, but his persistence to try to fix a problem, I guess, is what I latched onto. So then that's why I became a mechanic, because that's what he did.
Nice. So he was working as an automobile mechanic as well.
He did when he was younger. He used to work for the school board. But in his later years in life, he worked for Marineland in St. Augustine.
Okay.
It's like a dolphin fish type of track.
Cool.
He did a lot of welding.
Right.
So
Nice.
that's kind of where I got my, I guess you could say, influence from.
So your grandparents were married. How long were they married for?
40 years.
Okay.
My grandmother died young, but in her 60s, I guess. But my grandfather lived till he was 93.
Right.
So
You got good genetics.
I hope. I'm hoping.
Some people don't have good genetics, and so that's an interesting story about your grandfather. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
What's a favorite part about your business, and what keeps you motivated?
Okay, so the favorite part about my business is the freedom of schedule, not having to clock and be somewhere at a certain time. And I get the freedom to move my schedule around as I need to.
Sure.
So if I need to do something, I can just schedule around it. Like I can't do that, or I've got to go here, do that. So the other thing, it's a kind of a dual purpose, because I don't like getting up in the morning, even though I was in the military. But I don't like getting up early. But the other part is when I worked for other companies, I didn't like some of the things that happened that I couldn't control because I wasn't in charge.
Right.
I could make judgment calls, but inevitably, there were things that were going, I guess you could say, sideways, and I didn't like how they were handled.
Right.
But it was not my company. But now I own it.
Yeah.
If something's wrong and I see that it's wrong, I have the ability to say, okay, look, this is what we're going to do. We'll fix that.
Right.
Not like it's not all profit. Sometimes you have to take care of the problem, and do it right the first time.
Sure.
And if there is a problem that occurs, I'm not the type of person just to say that's your problem.
Right.
I will fix a problem just because my reputation means more than my money.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Because this is what I'm building, is my reputation.
Right. Exactly. You're right. That reminds me of our business here, and that reminds me of a lot of things that happen with our customers where we have to reach out and we have to do the right thing. And it's like I said, it's not always about profitability. It's not always about giving the customer exactly what they want either. It's about doing the right thing and making sure that
you got to find that happy medium.
That's it. Yeah.
I mean, do the right thing.
You got one moving piece, and we've got thousands of moving pieces. So it's over time. It's also about how to, as a whole, how to make the business successful, but still do the right thing.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, life's not perfect, is it?
No.
Do you have any dietary recommendations that you want to make?
Yeah, drink coffee. Lots of it. No. Dietary recommendations. I guess I don't have any other than that.
Okay, so you just have a normal diet. You don't have like a Mediterranean diet or vegan or vegetarian. Have you ever no carbs or only meat or anything like that you would recommend to people?
I did a vegetarian diet a while back, and it did change the way my body functioned. But
how long did you do it?
Almost a year.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it did help, but the way that vegetables are priced now, it's super hard to make everything vegetarian. It is very expensive.
Yeah.
It's a 99-cent hamburger is cheaper than
some broccoli.
Yeah. It's like broccoli's $2.99, like for a bunch of broccoli that you could steam down and make a meal, or a hamburger to make a meal. It's like sometimes, and I know I might get some flack on that one, but it's just easier to eat, better.
Yeah.
Well, we have tried to grow some of our own fruit, or not fruit,
vegetables.
But food. Yeah.
Right.
We grew zucchini and cucumbers at one time, some cabbage and lettuce.
Sure.
But that was kind of our try at making that work. But
so 3 years ago, I'm going to challenge you to do some research on this. If you remember this, I can put notes into the YouTube on the bottom. We can put notes for this to where y'all can just click it. But there's 2 documentaries that have been on Netflix. I assume they're still on there. Well, 3 years ago, we watched 2 documentaries about dietary intake. And also, I used to be a nurse, so I got a little bit deeper dive here in this. But the first one is called What the Health?
I've seen it.
Yeah, HEALTH, WTH. And What the Health? There's a physician in there. His name is Dr. Geiger, Geiger. And Dr. Geiger wrote a book called the book's called How Not to Die. And Dr. Geiger does a talk on YouTube. It's a Google talk to a bunch of physicians about his book. And he talks about the top 10 diseases that kill people in the United States.
Yep.
And so if you will we'll put a link to that. I listened to it on the way to Nashville and back one day. The first 45 minutes is immeasurable. He talks about heart disease. He talks about cancer. He talks about diabetes and how you can, dementia, how you can reverse those diseases with diet.
Yep.
So, number one, you've seen that.
I've watched it and I would recommend it.
Yeah.
And that's what made
Scary.
That's what made me change.
Yeah, scary. Yep.
I watched that documentary and it made me change how I eat.
Yeah, the chicken story.
Yes, horrible.
About the sink and the toilet. Ugh, so gross. And then the second one that I would recommend, you've probably seen this one as well. It's got Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. It's called The Game Changers. Mm-hmm. And The Game Changers is a documentary about endurance athletes and how they get the right amount of protein eating non-meat items, vegetables and fruit.
Right.
So, but it's got Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. It's got some MMA fighters in it. It's actually really entertaining, but it's called The Game Changers, and I would recommend you watch that. Okay. Next time you need to watch something on Netflix or something, that's the one I would recommend. Those are both life-changing. So tell me a story about where attitude and determination played a part in your success.
When I first started, I was really slow, but I guess you could say that I didn't have any business coming in. But the attitude that I guess you could say helped a lot was humility.
Right.
Because it's really hard, like I told you when we were talking before, about cold calling a customer is the hardest thing you got to do because you don't know how somebody's going to react.
Right.
But to be humble enough to ask for somebody's business is probably the hardest thing to do. But if you do it, there could be a huge reward.
Sure.
So humility is one, and the other is persistence. Mm-hmm. Just because you do, if you did 5 cold calls on a business, doesn't mean you don't hear from them right now. Doesn't mean that they're not interested.
I agree with you.
You left the spark, and
I agree with you.
Next thing you know, you've got 2 of those people that are calling you.
Yep, I agree with you.
So even if you stopped at 5 places and only 2 called you, you go back and hit the 3 again.
Yep.
Leave that impression that, hey, I didn't hear from you. If you need something, let me know. And that's persistence, humility. Kind of like keeping your perspective in check. But after I did that for a little while, I had enough work to pretty much, I didn't have to do it anymore.
Sure.
But there are times when, it gets slow and I'll go do it again. You know? Like we'll go find new businesses, new avenues to solicit and, say, hey, if you need this. And it's surprising how many businesses actually want your work but don't know you do it.
Yeah.
So that's...
Yeah, realtors also, auction companies. The original introduction to a locksmith, we used to flip houses.
Right.
We've done like maybe 18 or 20 total. But the original locksmith prior to the locksmith on Western Avenue was a guy by the name of Joe High. And Joe did all of the keys for Powell Auction. That's how That's how we got started with cars and with real estate, was buying from them. So the owner of Powell Auction, Kenny, referred me to Joe. And then Joe came out the very first time we evicted somebody. We had the sheriff sitting there, and we had Joe High sitting there, and Joe changed our locks. And then when we got into the automotive space, I had to go to his house because, it's in his basement. He just couldn't. Right. He couldn't handle the volume, and he couldn't handle the complexity of, like, he would try 2 or 3 times, and then, so he's the one who led us over to Western Avenue. So
I hear
you. Yeah.
Automotive is a completely different ballgame.
So I'm going to expound a little on your story about cold calling, because I think that is a muscle that a lot of people don't ever really get to use. And so when I first graduated from UT in 2002, a golfing buddy of mine, was selling insurance.
Right.
And he showed me his paycheck out on the golf course 3 weeks in a row. And so I was like, hey, this guy was working for the Walmart tire shop before he started making thousands of dollars a week. So if he can do it, I can do it.
Right.
And I have a college degree.
Right.
So I went to this, I got my life and health license, and I went through the month class or whatever. And so what they would teach us is that we're going to give you a lead to this house, but it doesn't matter who you sell a life insurance or a supplemental health policy to. You just want to sell it to somebody, because it was pure commission. The commission was so large.
Yeah.
And so we learned, we would go out to that house, and then we would go to the house to the left, the house to the right, and the house across the street. And I sold 12 policies to the house across the street one time.
Wow.
She bought it on 11 of her grandchildren.
Yep.
So that's how I learned how to use that muscle, that cold calling muscle. And to this day, I don't have a problem. Like, I have no problem walking in and saying hi to somebody.
A no is not necessarily a no.
Yeah.
And if you walk into a place and you say, if you would like to use me, that doesn't necessarily mean because they don't call you, they're not going to call you.
Right.
Because you don't know what other companies are doing.
That's it.
And other
And
companies
they're using a locksmith.
Right.
A company that does in-house financing, we're using a locksmith.
Right.
We have to have a way to help the customer out whenever they can't get into their vehicle.
Right.
We have to have a second key. So,
I mean, just at a standpoint, it helps keep, locksmith in check around the area. You have to have a good quality of service, because if you don't, they're going to call somebody else.
That's it.
And if they're going to call somebody else, I want to be there.
Sometimes right now.
Right.
We need you right now.
Right.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that. All right. So what is your greatest accomplishment?
Raising my children. I mean, because they're not done yet.
Yeah.
But they're getting close.
How old are they?
My son is 16. He'll be 17 in December. My daughter is 12. Oops, almost forgot that one.
Yeah.
12.
Yeah.
And my son has autism, and
Right.
he's on the spectrum disorder. So we knew early on that there was something different about him.
Sure.
So being able to deal with different challenges it does.
Patience. Yeah.
And I had to learn a lot more patience than most early on, because he sees things differently.
Right.
You can't always. But one of the things that I have raised my son with is I won't let him use it as a crutch.
Right.
We can't go through life with a crutch, because the crutch is not always going to be there. You have to learn to deal with life in certain aspects, not like harsh reality, because those things you'll face in different times of life. But I'm not going to let you use your diagnosis as why I can't clean my room. That's not that's what I'm talking about. You have to be with the rest of humanity, and we have to learn time management, these things, and he is the absolutely worst when it comes to tasks. I've learned, don't give him more than 2 tasks at once.
Oh, gotcha.
We're good.
Yeah.
But other than that, he is actually in Carter Career Magnet Academy.
Okay.
So he is dual enrolled right now in high school and college.
Wow.
So he's doing both at the same. And I'm like, this is going to be good for you. He's like, it's too much
What
work.
grade is he in? Yes, freshman?
Right now, I believe he is in the 10th grade.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work for him, but he can handle it. And I know he can.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think I can do that.
Yeah.
But I know.
Did you do dual enrollment when you were in high school?
No.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, that would be way too much for me. But him, and we had some other kids in our home at one time, and him helping them with algebra, I was like,
wow. So he's really strong in math.
Oh yeah. Math, and he's into political stuff, but I try to keep that to a minimum.
Right.
Because I'm like, you can be opinionated, but be careful where you're opinionated.
Politics, politics and religion, be careful.
Right. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Keep that to yourself.
Yep.
And I want my kids to have an opinion. I don't want to, like when I was growing up, my parents did not really try to influence me on politics. So I was able to form my own opinion.
Right.
And that's what I want them to do. And as long as you're educated about the thought that you're making, I'm okay with that.
Right, exactly.
Make your own determination.
And let's have a conversation about it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right. Yeah. Don't shut me down. I mean, let's talk about what you don't understand or what you don't know, and educate yourself. I'm a firm believer in, if you don't know what you're talking about, you need to know.
Right.
Just go research if you can spend an hour on Facebook, Facebook video scanning, you can research what you're talking about and know.
So much wasted time these days. Yeah.
There is.
What do they call it? Doom scrolling, where you sit there and you spend 5 or 60 or 4 hours.
It's bad. It's very bad. So I have a firm policy that if I want to buy something, I'll download Facebook, and then I'll delete it after I get what I want. Yeah. Because
Marketplace.
Because I love Marketplace. I wish it was a separate app, but Facebook, I call it the Lotus Garden. There was a story that I remember from a kid where I think it was Jason, and the Golden Fleece, where he got caught on this island, and they were eating these flowers, and that's what Facebook is like, because they forget how long they're on it, and they don't even realize that hours later, like, oh man, So I call it the Lotus Garden, but I try to stay away from Lotus Garden. Buc-ee's is Lotus Garden too.
Oh, is it?
You get caught in there.
It's funny you mentioned deleting Facebook, because I'm not going to name the hospital I used to work at,
right?
But I used to work at one of the hospitals in town, and I worked third shift. I worked 7P to 7A, and they did not care at the time, of course, this was, 12, 13 years ago.
Right.
They did not care that we had our phones out and that we were on our phones, not in front of a customer, of course, and with HIPAA and everything, you can't take pictures of patients and stuff like
Right.
that. But just walking up and down the hallway, they didn't care if we had our phone out. And so I caught myself one night looking at Facebook 7 times. Just within 20 minutes, I pulled it out. And so I deleted Facebook. I deleted my account. To this day, I don't have a Facebook account.
It's difficult. And I encourage people to, if you don't think you're using a lot of time on Facebook, go to your app usage.
Right.
Look at how much time you're spending, because that app usage is not going to lie.
For sure.
If you've got 20 hours on Facebook throughout the week.
Yeah, that's crazy. One of the coolest things, and I'm not going to say I practice this.
Right.
I do need to. But Alex Hermosi has a podcast called The Game of Business. One of the smartest people in business I've ever heard. But I listen to him talk sometimes. His content is really intelligent. It's very thought-invoking. And Alex talks about setting a schedule up to where you do certain things. Like you said, you get up and you read the Bible.
Yeah.
And you spend some time thinking about what's happening in your life. But Alex doesn't allow people to interrupt him only at certain times of the week. And if you want a meeting with him and you can't meet him on Tuesday at 3, he doesn't want the meeting with you.
Right.
And so he also does that with social media and email. He only will look at email like from 9 to 10 in the morning. He won't look at it, any social media, nothing again until that next day at that exact time.
Yeah.
But he manages his time very strictly. And I've always thought about, how good that would be for us if we were to do that.
It's good discipline.
So, yeah.
Very good discipline.
He also, do you remember the story about Solomon in the Bible?
Yes.
He also has a meeting with himself every Monday morning at 8 o'clock. He has a 1-hour meeting with his 95-year-old self. And he asks himself questions about what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? And then he'll answer the question himself. He calls it the Solomon paradox. It's biblical, of course.
Right.
So, but can you imagine if you were able to ask your 95-year-old self what you should do? You're talking about getting a second van. What if you were to ask your 95-year-old self questions about business integration? Think about how helpful that would be if you could actually talk to your 95-year-old self. That's an interesting concept that most people don't think about.
I had to do a lot more thinking about that.
All right, so the last question, 2 more questions. If you could change one thing in this world right now, what would it be?
I have to say, and I'm trying to choose this one wisely, but the one thing I would probably change is lobbying. Mm-hmm. I think a lobbying is a double standard in our country, and I'm talking about in politics.
Yeah.
So I try not to fall on the left or the right, red or blue. I don't have either spectrum. Mm-hmm. And I have a different view of politics than most, but I see it because we have problems in our country that exist from problems that are not even really related, or that people don't know, or see them as problems. Lobbying is a problem because if I'm a corporation and I'm allowed to pay somebody in the government to go to my benefit and get a law created for me, well, if I do that on a personal level here in Knox County, I would be arrested. Why? That's a double standard for me. That doesn't seem fair, as in the law seems to overlook that.
Yeah.
I mean, and there are other problems that we got to face, but I think it's the largest oversight that everybody overlooks. Like, why is it fair for a company or a corporation that has money that can benefit from that money to pay for that access, and if we do it, it's illegal?
Yeah. But if an association does it, or association, I'm thinking of 2 right off the top of my head.
Corporation or association. Yep. Why is that legal?
Right.
And it doesn't. I'm not even looking at the broader spectrum of what the issue that they're lobbying on. I'm just looking at the fact that it's legal versus it's not illegal for us.
Right.
Like if I wanted Knox County to, I'm going to pay somebody, an official at Knox County, to send me the business.
Yes.
That's not right.
Yeah, no.
I would go to jail for that. But there's people that
bribe.
And that's
what business does it. It's not considered a bribe.
It's called lobbying, and to me, it's the most overlooked injustice in our country in some aspects.
Sure,
but
I can see that for sure. All right, last question. What is your favorite color, and what's your wife's favorite color?
Mine would be blue, of course.
Yeah.
And my wife's is purple.
Purple.
Yep.
So why is hers purple? She just likes the color purple?
She says it's the color of royalty.
That's purple's a pretty color, and blue's a pretty color as well. So.
Yeah.
Do you know your son and your daughter's favorite color?
Daughter, I'm not really sure about her.
Yeah.
But my son is orange.
He likes orange. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it because of UT or?
Probably.
I gotcha.
I'm not a UT fan, so that's.
Are you a sports fan or?
I don't really watch sports
Yeah.
per se, but if I was a fan, like I came from St. Augustine, so I'm a Gators
You
fan.
would be a Florida fan.
Yeah, I'm not really. Don't hold that again. I don't watch
We're
football.
not sports fans either, but
It's
yeah.
so I like history.
Right.
This is just a side note.
Yeah.
I love history, and one of the things in history that I noticed that in ancient Rome they used the games to distract people on when they had civil or social issues going on. They used the games to distract people, and to me that was like, I don't really want to be distracted. I want to pay attention.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So when it comes to games, I kind of don't pay attention.
Sure. Yeah.
It seems like a waste of time.
It seems like the diversion of energy where you should be focusing on your home,
right.
your family, your business.
Imagine the money that's being spent in
Sure.
games that could be spent anywhere else.
Yeah. It's entertainment. So do you have a form of entertainment that you like besides sports?
That's a good question.
So when your wife and you have a date night, what do y'all do? Besides go eat Thai food on Chapman Highway.
Thai food is definitely. I mean, far as things that I like to do, I guess you could say, I don't know. I like woodworking, but I don't do it anymore.
Okay,
so
you guys don't have like season passes to Dollywood,
No.
or y'all go to the movies?
no.
Okay.
Entertainment to me is kind of like
You ever go to like a concert? Music?
I have in the past, but no, I don't go to
Awesome.
concerts.
You guys enjoy being at home and spending time together then?
When we travel, we will go to we go to some church functions. That's
Oh, nice.
a lot of what we do.
Yeah,
so
nice.
this year we've been to Alabama twice for weddings for people at our church,
Right.
and we've been to Lakeland camping. So it was a
Is
church
that in
function.
Lakeland, Florida?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we're fixing to have a camp meeting here at our church. It's over here in Knoxville.
Yeah.
So those are
You
pretty
want
much.
to talk about the name of your church?
It's Church of God over on Thorn Grove Pike.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Very good.
But other than that, we don't really. I mean, it's hard to say
You
that.
spend time with your church family.
I do a lot.
Yeah, that's
a lot.
That is a form of entertainment. Being around people that are like yourself.
It is.
It may not be the reason for doing it, but it is a form of entertainment.
Right.
So,
Right.
for sure. All right, Matt. Well, thanks for hanging out with us today. And again, this is Matt with Minuteman Locksmith, and he does mobile locksmithing. You do homes, automobile,
Residential, commercial.
jet skis,
Yeah, if you
side
need
by
it.
sides.
Yep.
You do safes.
Okay, so I will do safe work as long as it doesn't include drilling.
Okay.
I don't have a drill rig.
No
Very
drilling and no dynamite.
Right.
Right.
But if it's like you've got a combination pad that's messing up, or you want to change a combo, or
Yeah.
you've got your bolt pins through the door messing up,
Yeah, yeah.
anything kind of
Yeah.
like that, I can handle it. But
Yeah.
no
No
drilling.
drilling.
I just
So if somebody has like an old classic car and they don't want to have a lock anymore, they just want to bypass it and just push a button to start it, can you do that?
No.
Okay, gotcha.
I only work on cars that OEM requirements, because when you start changing
Yeah,
what the
right.
manufacturer did, then you're outside of your area of
Yeah.
will it work
Expertise.
for
Right. Forever.
Right. I want
Right.
it to work like the equipment was designed, and that's why I tell people
Right.
you can go to aftermarket people to install that, but I won't do it.
I gotcha.
It
Any
changes.
mechanic could probably do that as well.
Right.
Remove. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So, well,
Um,
thanks for being on our podcast today.
Appreciate you having me.
Thank you.
Do you want to promote your business on our podcast? You can give us a call or shoot us a text at 865-687-7100. You can also apply by filling out our Google form in the description box.